Hi, and welcome to What's It Like with YORX. I am your host, YORX, and today we actually have one of my great friends from school, from university. It's Orville, and Orville, say hi to the people.
Hello, your nation. I'm in here live from Jamaica, representing. Yeah, good to be here, York.
Thanks. And I really would like to thank you, Orville, for making it to church. Before we go any further, we want to thank our sponsors, Walter's Weddings. Based in one of the world's best countries for destination weddings, that's Jamaica, and also we have offices in Canada, Walter's Weddings is your go-to media company. Whether it's photography, live streaming, drone photography, or cinematography, contact our award-winning team at waltersweddings.com and talk to Tina. We're also available for weddings as far north as Canada to as far south as South America. Now, back to our program. Before we came on air, I was just explaining to Orville that one of the reasons for What's It Like is we wanted to see what's it like for different people at different stages of their life. For me, I'm a Christian, I'm a Seventh-day Adventist, but in addition to that, I am a husband, a father, and I'm also I'm on the fringes of the beginning of the millennials. So they said that the millennials started from 83 coming down. So you could consider me a millennial. And
Yeah.
one of the things that I realize is, even though I am in my 30s, is I wanted us to speak about what's it like being a millennial Christian, and how exactly do we evangelize as husbands, as I don't know if you're going to be a father yet or whatever, but as husbands or in the in our situation as we are, especially you in Jamaica, me in Canada, I'm sure that we probably had similar situations before I left Jamaica, but now that you're in Jamaica and I'm in Canada, we have kind of sort of different situations. So what's it like for you, Orville, to evangelize or to bring across Christianity to your friends or your coworkers or whatever?
So for me, my approach has always been like a little bit different. So I'm a respecter of people, right? And I respect people's point of views, people's own journeys, how they do things and what they want to do, right? And so everybody's belief doesn't necessarily need to be like the same as mine. But one thing is for sure, you're not going to stop me from evangelizing, right? I am going to spread the gospel by the hook or the crook, right? And so my thing was that like Christ, and I say like Christ because I'm kind of funny about just labeling myself a Christian, because like while that is the very greatest overview of my life, right? There are people who kind of take it out of perspective, right? And so everything becomes about, oh, I can only befriend those who are like me, and I can only relate to those who come from the path that I come from, right? And that becomes a deflecting factor, right? It pushes people away from the church. And so that's where my approach differs, in that if you don't believe in God, it won't stop me from being your friend. It just means that we have something that we disagree about. But if I live my life well enough, right? If I live my life with enough love,
The sermon.
Let my life be the sermon, precisely, right? Then who knows, one day I can lead you to God, and it won't be through me deliberately going out there and trying to push the word down your throat, right? I can, if I make the word my life, then I don't need to tell you, but my life becomes the example. And so I differ in that way, that I'm not really going to shove it down your throat or offend you with the word, but my life will prove. And I mean, I have friends who are atheists, right? I have friends who are agnostics, and they always tell me, like, Orville, honestly, you make it tempting. You make it so tempting to believe. Like, and if there's somebody that was going to get me in the church, it would
Mhm,
more than likely be you. And so I know that I'm doing what I've
mhm.
set out to do. And so the idea is to just continue doing the same.
It's so funny that we're actually doing the same similar thing or the same thing, because for me, I mean, especially in North America, in Canada, where I'm at right now, some people take it as an offense when you bring up anything relating to religion. So as a result of that, what I do is similar to what you do, is follow Christ's example and be the sermon. Because they when you look at it, when Christ was here, he was with the fishermen, which were like which were probably considered like scammers. Well, the tax collectors were considered like scammers. The fishermen, which you could probably liken to as taximen. The harlots, the which would be called prostitutes now, and all of those different people who basically in that time would have been considered as the worst of the worst and the lowest of the lows. And who he butted heads most with were the clergymen, the Pharisees, the scribes, and people of such caliber. And what I try to do is I try to, for example, in my workplace, I try not to be stuck up. As a matter of fact, we had a Christmas get together recently, and I was the DJ, right? And as a result of that, they saw another side of me. However, whenever I'm in office, even though I work from home most of the time, but whenever I'm in office, every single time I'm in office, something comes up about my religion or my denomination. And most of the people in my office are Jewish. And because I'm Seventh-day Adventist and I go to church on Sabbath or Saturday, a lot of times they discuss, or they one of the guys in my office, he's really pulled into having these discussions with me, and I really enjoy having those discussions, because what it helps me to do is, in my little corner, evangelize and be the sermon. Because they see one side of me while I'm in the office, but then now we're not letting loose and we're having a get together or whatever, they see another side of me and they say, he isn't pious, or he isn't someone who is considered holier than thou. I can talk to him, he can talk to me, he can let loose, he can, do stuff like that and do clean partying.
Yeah, man. And you see, when you sent me that video this morning, the first thing that came to mind was, well, yeah, because I've had that conversation before about um, people not wanting to believe in God because it's a moral thing for them. It's a moral battle, right? If you're going to hold me accountable, then I'm going to try to remove what holds me accountable so I can still get to do what I want without getting caught, right? Or without having to face anything for it. So, hey,
Mm-hmm.
if there is nothing to say, don't do this, then hey, I can do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I believe in that. But on the other side of the page, the other side of that same page, right? One of the biggest factors that chase people from the church is actually the church and the actions of the church, right? So
Mm-hmm.
as a lifelong Christian myself, I can tell
And
you,
which denomination are you, by the way?
I'm a lifelong Pentecostal. I don't think I'm a strict Pentecostal. I
Okay.
think I live my life according to the word. And so I tend to not try to limit myself to a specific denomination because I
Okay.
think each denomination has something that
Mm-hmm.
is a strength to it, right? So like the Catholics super disciplined, right? If a Catholic church, if you go to a Catholic church, you'll
Mm-hmm.
see the 3-year-old, and the
Mm-hmm.
requirement is that everybody stand for the whole service. A 3-year-old won't complain, right? But then you take it to the Adventist church, right? When it comes to Bible study and just systems being in place to help you study the word. Like,
yeah.
it is unmatched, right? The Seventh-day Adventist Church is unmatched. When it comes to faith and revivalism, right? Belief and exercising faith, then the Pentecostal church, they're far ahead, right? And
Yeah.
then it comes to praying, you start looking at like the Baptists, and so you realize if you were supposed to just collect what's best from them, right? Then you're what the word wants it to be, right? And so because of that, I tend to not box myself in. I tend to try to take what's best from everything, right? What's best from each, because nobody is fully wrong as nobody is fully right, right? So, yeah, and as we talk about that, that's something that chases people away from the church, because the church is so divided, right? In saying that, oh, well, I'm an Adventist, so I can't worship with you, or I'm a Pentecostal, so I can't do your thing. I can't come to your sermon. Then how do we expect the average man who hasn't been churched, right? He hasn't been a part of the body of Christ to come in and say, okay, because to him outside, it's like racism, right?
Yes.
It's like racism.
Yes. It
So,
segregation and racism and classism and the caste system, for those who are in India listening or whatever. It separates us, and that's one of the things why you and I have such a fond love for a specific sport, and why we yes, it touched on racism, and it is it and the whole kneeling down thing, but at the same time, the whole separation from racism to classism to right down to what we're talking about, which is denominations. I totally get you, and I totally understand, because God is not coming for a denomination.
nope.
He's coming back for a specific set of people who have followed his precepts and his commandments,
Precisely.
and and live out their life a specific way.
Precisely, because in the word, the Bible, like, there's no mention of these different denominations, right? So I think that people form their belief systems, right? And then from that, they they started establishing what they believe and what their section of people should believe and the practices that should govern them, right? But these are man-made or man-dictated structures, right? And so even though they may be placed there to guide you, it means that some may still be flawed, right? They still may be a flawed system, right? And the flaws are very, very, very evident, because as we see, the body of Christ is separated along some menial things, right? While we're erring versus who do whatever, right? Hey, you get baptized in this name versus that name and whatnot, right? I think like those basics can be taught, right? Those basics can be taught over time to deep diving in the word and exploring together, right? And all that. But we become so divided that I'm not even willing to listen to you, right? I'm not even willing to give it the time of day to even start the conversation. So how do we become united, right?
Yeah, because it and how do we become united is a very good question, because I wanted to ask, well, let me tell you, and you tell me if there are similarities, as it relates to young people in my church. Most of the time we would have an evening service called AY, which is an acronym for Adventist Youth, and we would have like basically it would be a discussion, or it can be a presentation, or sometimes even a play or a skit that basically touches on different issues that we would have as youth growing up. and that normally would start basically about anywhere between 3:30 or 4 o'clock, depending upon where you are and sunset and whatever.
Yeah, man. I
But
was an Adventist, remember?
oh,
Right?
I didn't remember.
Yeah,
Um,
man.
but what I notice now is that, um, especially in North America, where, well, let me say Canada, where I am, it the AY program isn't as much as ingrained, or it isn't. It basically, you would have it like once a month or once every other week. What I notice is that the youth in the church, like the youth component is dwindling, and I don't know. I don't know if it is. I think that it's a direct correlation as to the not having as much evening services, or as much services that are dedicated to the youth and their issues. I don't know if you have a similar situation with your church. Like, what kind of programs do you guys have for your youth, and what is the youth involvement like in your neck of the woods or in your church?
All right. So the funny thing is, right now I don't have a home church, so I have like several churches that I routinely visit. So
Mhm.
I'm never out of a service, but
Okay.
I haven't had a home church for quite some time, and I'm just kind of counting on God to lead me, right? So he told me to leave, and so Tamika and I have been on an exodus, and we're just doing what God tells us to do and going where He tells us to go. But yeah, so there are youth ministries and youth services where it's all led, organized, and directed by the youth, right? But similarly, we've seen dwindling numbers, and I don't think it's something that has to do with the lack of programs around the youth. I think as the world evolves, the distractions become more. But at the same time, the church refuses to evolve, to find new, innovative ways of keeping the youth
Yes.
attracted to the church, right? And
Yes.
attracted to the word, right? And so they find, as a church, we find ourselves so removed from the
Mhm.
world that we kind of that we kind of over time remove ourselves from becoming even merely attractive, right? So it's almost as if our leaders, for the most part, they've forgotten what it's like to be a youth, or forget what it's like when they were a youth, right? The distracting factors. And to just scale that up even more, because we're in a time where technology is way advanced. The ability to just turn on the TV and spend the whole day without being bored. It's a real thing. When I was young schoolboy in primary school,
Mhm.
I had Power Rangers and Saturday morning cartoons. Outside of
Mhm.
that, there was really nothing that I wanted to watch, right?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
there's Netflix, Hulu,
Mhm.
this, that. Outside of
Mhm.
cable, and you have IPTV services where you have 5,000 or 10,000 channels, right?
And that's
And
just TV. We're not talking about podcasts and social media.
listen, we're not talking about YouTube alone, right? Remember, and then you even mentioned social media. Social media is a different beast, right? We have so many things that are geared to keeping the youth engaged, and these products, like these companies, they hire the best professionals to not only market their product, but in
Get into the
building, in
minds.
but in building the product, right? We've so as a product, as an IT professional, software professional, and moving into that product management space, right? I've I've started to understand more and more how to effectively um, achieve product market fit, right? And so a part of that is, before you even start building, you're doing the research and the testing for your target markets and your target users to understand not just the behaviors, but the psychology behind what drives these behaviors. And so when the creator of TikTok, the creator of YouTube, Instagram, and these things, right? When they
Mhm.
get their product teams to understand the users that much and build a product exactly for them, right? the product is built because that's what they want. And so you're building what they want, right? But at the same time, the church refuses to adopt where it's not evolving to give the youth what they want. They're saying, take what we have and take what
Yes.
we're telling you to take, right?
Yes.
But there are people out there that's making things for you. So imagine you're going somebody go out there and make a steamed fish meal based on the seasoning, the textures and everything that your queen wants, right? Nobody steamed fish now got appeal to you more than somebody will make a steamed fish exactly what you want to your perfect liking, right? And so that's what's happening. The world is offering like different products and stuff, and they're being tailored to the interests of the different demographics and especially the youth, right? We see TikTok is a young people thing, right?
Yeah.
As much as old people engage, TikTok is for the new generation, right? Instagram, you look on the reels and you look on YouTube.
TikTok is to us like what Facebook killed High Five with early in the day.
Exactly. And you find that these people, they're out there using scientific methods to study and using like social methods to study. So you have user interviews and user testing where before they even launch a feature, they're testing it on a demographic of people who kind of represent a subset of every target market they have, right? And so when they release a product, it's perfect. Yeah. And when you release something that's perfect, right? How can you target that with old methods, right? So it's like me who still believe that advertising in the classifieds will be your fully digital marketing company. It's not going to work. It's not going to work.
And they make so many iterations and changes even without you noticing, because last week I noticed that Instagram made this change whereby instead of the screen freezing on one post, you can scroll through and like you can be in mid post between two different posts. So basically what they're doing is that they're enticing you to continue scrolling instead of scrolling to one thing at a time on the screen.
Precisely.
So as a result of that, like basically, Orville, I think that for now, gone are the days of speaking behind a podium and the Lord said that is not really working anymore.
No.
When you're preaching now, you're preaching to the choir. You're preaching to the converted, not the unconverted. You're not gonna reach to those people using those old stuff.
Precisely, right? And you see as much as things they are. So I'm a lifelong Christian, right? Dedicated to my faith. But you see, at the same time, I find that the churches I visit most now are online, right?
Yeah.
So even though I give service to other churches, local churches, right? Like you look on a TV Jakes, right? The Potter's House. I tune into the Potter's House a whole lot because Pastor Jakes, his methods of teaching, right? There's some things when he's teaching, him kind of reach down and him touching you by the soul and saying, as my grandmother used to say, him mash your can, right? And so when that can mashing them, you're feeling it. And
speaking to an issue that you specifically have right now.
Precisely, right? And so when he does that, then instead of the word being a Sunday thing, right? I go through the entire week reflecting on that word because it's my word, right? And it's different from what I'm used to. Like Jamaican churches, it's the same topics you've heard your whole life. Don't get engaged in the sweet adult stuff, premarital sex. You don't want to obey the commandments and whatnot. When you start listening to some of these churches, there's another pastor I love tuning into, Pastor Darius Daniels, right? Pastor Darius is, when I say he's a genius, he is his understanding of the word and how to convey it and how to just put it in a language where you can understand is second to none, right? And it was so funny that it was on a Sunday service at Potter's House with TD Jakes that Darius Daniels was the presenting pastor for that Sunday. And ever since, like, I've had to check in every Sunday morning to just see what Pastor Daniels is up to before I rush to Potter's House. And even last Sunday, I got so caught up in the service with Pastor Daniel that I ended up not going to the Potter's House because I said the whole service, right? And so, yeah, big shout out to Pastor Daniel's. Definite.
I mean,
Must.
there are pastors that I also tune into. I mean, I like Doug Batchelor. He's a preacher teacher because he teaches stuff like, because he runs the Amazing Facts Ministry, and the way how he works it is that he will teach you an amazing fact that you're like, I never knew that before, like something pertaining to nature or creation that you thought, or something in history that you never thought about. There are other pastors such as a David Asherick that I like, and also Dr. Carlton Bird, who was at Oakwood College, who has now been moved to a different section of the vineyard. There are those people who stand out to me that I love to listen to, and even sometimes also my current church pastor right here in Winnipeg. Shout out Pastor Emil Maxey. I love listening to them because they bring across a different type of message rather than the hellfire message that we're all fire and brimstone, that we're all used to. Like, if you don't do this, you're going to hell, or if you continue to do this, you're going to hell. That message, I don't like that message, but I like when I'm taught and I learn new
Yes.
things. Those are the kind of preachers that I gravitate towards. And that's one of the things, going back to the original question, when you are trying to reach someone, you can't condemn them and expect them to open up to you, right?
Yeah.
You have to open up to them and open up their mind to a new reality in an effort to get them to come over to your side. Because as the question in the video, the main question, the moot point of the video was that I sent to Arville this morning, was, if Christianity was right, or I can flip it around, if atheism was wrong, would you choose the right thing? And if you then say no, you wouldn't choose the right thing, then we know what the problem is. The problem isn't rationalizing and being right in the mind. The problem is you basically refusing, and it is a basically a conviction of the heart rather than a conviction of the mind. Basically, that's basically what I was understanding the video to say.
Yeah, man, and you're right. It's trying to convince yourself that this thing isn't so you can do what you want, right?
So you can be a god yourself.
Yeah. So it's removing the possibility from your heart and trying to convince your mind that, listen, this is real.
Exactly. But I really enjoyed this conversation, Arville. And for those of you who are listening, and those of you who are watching, I thank you for listening to this podcast, and I do hope and pray that you continue to listen, and there's more to come. This is just the beginning, guys. We're just getting warmed up. We're just getting revved up. And any last words you'd like to say, Arville?
Just want to say shout out to York Nation again. Guys, tune in. York Win is about to just deliver some real value to your life. And York Win, this is a great initiative and you have my full support. So just keep doing what you're doing. Right?
Thanks. I appreciate it, guys. And for those of you who want to know what's it like, tune in again for the next episode of What's It Like. Thanks. Feel free to reach out to us at whatsitlikewithyorks@gmail.com or leave a comment in the comments section. What's It Like with YORX is recorded at Imagine Studios with me, Yorkwin. Edited by Yorkwin. Produced by Yorkwin. Music by Trilo XV.